Can you give us a summary reasons why you justify the Russian invasion with? Thanks. It's so fucking stupid. Like, do you know the events leading up to this? Did you know that Russia stepped in to protect the Donbass after Ukraine violated the Minsk agreements? Ukraine still attacked the Donbass, and that's just Russia just doing this in response? It's that fucking simple. But it's actually very simple, right? We don't live in a world of balanced sovereign states. We don't. We live in a world of security pacts, polarities, and alliances, and geopolitical alliances. Everyone fucking understands that. When the security architecture that defines the security of everyone becomes unbalanced in one direction, a country is then threatened. Okay? It's that fucking simple. You know what? I'll show it to you like this. What brought about the Minsk agreement? The civil war in 2014, 2015. So I'll show you this. It's really simple, right? So we're going to use Google Maps to do this. Okay. So in what way would Ukraine joining NATO harm the security architecture of Europe? Okay? Well, it's simple. Why does Russia care about Ukraine? Why doesn't Russia care about these countries? Estonia, Latvia, they join NATO, right? Why isn't that a problem? I'll tell you why. It's actually super simple, okay? So here's Ukraine. Here's Russia's border with Ukraine, right? Right here, what is this sea called? This is the Sea of Azov, right? Sea of Azov, and this is the Caspian, and this is the Black Sea. This strait right here, what is the fucking strait called? It's called the George Strait. Whatever the fuck this piece of land is, right? This is the single most important geopolitical region of Russia, right? So if this gets cut off from the Russian Federation, Russia's over, right? This right here is with the George Strait. This is what guarantees, so from land, it gets Russia its access to Azeri oil in the past. But now, right, this is the land bridge that gives Russia access to the east right here, right? This sea, the Caspian Sea, right? This is how Russia gets shit from here, right? And then the Black Sea right here, right? These are fucking strategically very important for Russia, right? If they lose this, the Russian Federation is over. You starve Russia out from this, it's over. You guys ever heard of the Battle of Stalingrad? You guys ever heard of the Battle of Stalingrad, right? That's right here, Volgograd. And the reason this battle was so fucking important, the Volgograd Gap, exactly. So when the Germans took Ukraine, right here, right? It's right here. This is the region, right here. When the Germans took Ukraine, they advanced right here to Stalingrad. Now, what was so important about the Stalingrad? It's the Volgograd Gap. Yeah, that's what it's called. What was so important about Stalingrad? If the Germans took Stalingrad, they would be able to advance and take this whole strip called the Volgograd Gap, right? You take this, you conquer Russia. You conquer the whole thing. It's completely defenseless. You lose the Volga River, not only that, but you lose access to the Caspian Sea. You lose everything. You lose absolutely everything. So that's why the Battle of Stalingrad was so important. Because if you take this, you take all of this right here, this strip right here, you fucking lose everything. Russia's done. Completely fucking vulnerable. Not only vulnerable, it's the end of the Russia as a state. It's the complete end. It wouldn't survive. Okay? This is the most geostrategically vital part of the existence of the Russian state. Okay? So, if Ukraine were to join join NATO, and Ukraine is an anti-Russian country, that leaves Russia very vulnerable. It has every right to prevent that fucking outcome. No country, no big power would ever tolerate that threat to its existence. Okay? The United States would not tolerate that in its own fucking country. The United States would not tolerate, okay? Here's the US. The US would not fucking tolerate Canada and Mexico and Cuba and whatever. It would not tolerate these two being hostile toward it, right? The U.S. would not tolerate any geostrategic threat to its existence. You think the U.S. would just, okay, let's say you have Mexico, hostile Mexico, and Mexico can just fuck up the U.S. somehow and completely end the U.S.'s existence and make it very vulnerable. Would we tolerate that? Would we tolerate the possibility of that? No, we fucking wouldn't, okay? So this is about the balance of the security architecture in Europe. That's what this whole fucking thing is about, okay? That's why Russia's doing this. It's specifically about the Volgograd Gap. Okay? That's why Russia will not tolerate Ukraine being in NATO, but they were willing to tolerate Estonia and Latvia. Now, as for Finland, okay, why is Russia getting upset that Finland is suggesting it might join NATO? Because if Finland joins NATO, this is going to be a problem right here. You can see it's a similar thing, right? They're going to be cut off. They're going to be able to use this as a launching board to take St. Petersburg, right? And cut Russia off from the Gulf of Finland and the Baltic Sea. Bad news for Russia. So you understand, Putin's not crazy. The Russians are not crazy. They're acting very basically on the very basic and reasonable geopolitical necessities of ensuring the security of the Russian Federation. Now, people ask the question, what do you mean security architecture? What is the security about? It's just about making sure that Russia's sovereignty is secure. Just like how Europe has to make sure that Europe's sovereignty is secure. And America has to make sure that its security is secure, right? Well, Russia has to do the same fucking thing. So you can make the argument, well, Hans, every state has the right to join whatever military bloc that it wants to. Actually, that's not true. You cannot make military strategic alliances that come at the expense of the overall balance of the security architecture. It's a violation of international law, right? You can't fucking do that. We don't exist in a vacuum. It's not like we're all these equal sovereign states. We just all do whatever the fuck we want, regardless of geography and regardless of geopolitics. That's not how it fucking works. Your security cannot come at the expense of my security. That is a norm of international relations. Your security cannot come at the expense of my security, right? There are limits to sovereignty. You cannot just do whatever the fuck you want, right? Now, you can do whatever you want within your own borders, but you cannot join military geopolitical alliances that come at the comes at the expense of another country's security. There is a reality of geopolitics, okay? There's a reality of fucking geopolitics. It's a norm of international relations. It's a basic norm of international relations.